Self and Sovereignty ought to be considered mandatory reading because it explores the Muslim identity and how it had to negotiate the concept of citizenship in a modern nation-state, shining a light on the critical role of religion in identity formation. Dr. Jalal engages with Benedict Anderson's theory of imagined communities. Dr. Jalal highlights how in colonial India, the press played a crucial role in shaping communal identities and political mobilization. But the outcome was not a single cohesive national identity as Anderson's theory might suggest. Instead, the fragmented and contested nature of these imagined communities led to the crystallization of distinct and often conflicting communal identities, particularly between Hindus and Muslims. The Hindu press in particular was instrumental in crafting an Indian nationalism that was deeply entwined with Hindu cultural life. One of the critical flashpoints in the Hindu-Muslim identity debate was the language controversy, particularly the Urdu-Hindi controversy. Language was not merely a means of communication, but a symbol of cultural and religious identity. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, recognizing the exclusionary potential of an Indian nationalism based solely on Hindu cultural symbols and values, Sir Syed and other Muslim intellectuals argued for the recognition and protection of Muslim identity within the Indian subcontinent. Dr. Ayesha Jalal's Self and Sovereignty, Individual and Community in South Asian Islam since 1850 is a groundbreaking work that seeks to describe and interpret the complex and historically dynamic nature of identity and community in South Asian Islam. Dr. Jalal's focus is on the historical development of the relationship between the Muslim individual and the wider Islamic community in colonial South Asia. Self and Sovereignty ought to be considered mandatory reading because it explores the Muslim identity and how it had to negotiate the concept of citizenship in a modern nation-state, shining a light on the critical role of religion in identity formation. One of the book's central aims is to detangle the politics of cultural nationalism from religiously informed cultural identities. Dr. Jalal's writing seeks to explore how the colonial state's logic viewed the emergence of religious distinctions as the natural consequence of cultural differences. Seen in this way, the book is an exploration of how the category of Muslim became politically significant. The purpose of this video is to outline the key ideas in this extremely important book, which can help answer some of the critical questions about the idea of Pakistan, and particularly the question of why the Muslims of South Asia imagined themselves as a distinct nation. The book meticulously documents how identity was contested and constructed within the media, with newspapers and pamphlets serving as critical platforms for debate. Dr. Jalal engages with Benedict Anderson's theory of imagined communities, which suggests that nations are socially constructed through shared experiences and collective imagination facilitated by print capitalism. She critically examines Anderson's framework, applying it to the South Asian context to explore how communal identities were imagined and constructed through various media, including newspapers, pamphlets, and other forms of print culture. The book shows that while Anderson's theory provides a valuable lens for understanding the development of national consciousness, it needs to be adapted to account for the complexities of South Asian societies, where multiple religious, linguistic, and cultural identities coexisted and often competed with each other. Dr. Jalal highlights how in colonial India, the press played a crucial role in shaping communal identities and political mobilization. But the outcome was not a single cohesive national identity as Anderson's theory might suggest. Instead, the fragmented and contested nature of these imagined communities led to the crystallization of distinct and often conflicting communal identities, particularly between Hindus and Muslims. Dr. Jalal illustrates how the processes of imagining communities in South Asia were marked by deep divisions and the eventual demand for separate sovereignties. The press and public discourse did not merely create a unified national consciousness, but also intensified communal divisions, ultimately contributing to the partition of India. Jalal's work thus may be said to provide a critical reappraisal of Anderson's theory, emphasizing the need to consider the specific historical and social contexts that shape the imagination of communities. The press became a battleground where ideas of identity and nationalism were fiercely debated. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, newspapers and pamphlets proliferated, becoming essential tools for political and religious leaders to propagate their views. These media played a pivotal role in shaping public opinion and mobilizing support among different communities. The Hindu press in particular was instrumental in crafting an Indian nationalism that was deeply entwined with Hindu cultural life. Prominent Hindu nationalists and reformers utilized the press to promote a vision of India that was rooted in Hindu mythology, values, and traditions. This Hindu-centric nationalism sought to create a unified national identity, but in doing so often marginalized non-Hindu communities. This Hindu cultural nationalism prompted a response from Muslim leaders, most notably Sir Syed Ahmed Khan. Recognizing the exclusionary potential of an Indian nationalism based solely on Hindu cultural symbols and values, Sir Syed and other Muslim intellectuals argued for the recognition and protection of Muslim identity within the Indian subcontinent. Through his writings and the establishment of institutions like the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, which later became Aligarh Muslim University, Sir Syed sought to foster a distinct Muslim identity that could coexist with, yet remain separate from burgeoning Hindu nationalism. One of the critical flashpoints in the Hindu-Muslim identity debate was the language controversy, particularly the Urdu-Hindi controversy. Language was not merely a means of communication, but a symbol of cultural and religious identity. Urdu, with its Persian and Arabic script and vocabulary, was associated with Muslim identity, while Hindi, written in the Devanagari script and incorporating more Sanskrit, was championed by Hindu nationalists. The debate over language became a proxy for broader communal tensions, with each side viewing the promotion of their preferred language as essential to their cultural and religious survival. The Urdu-Hindi controversy exacerbated communal relations, as language became a tool for political mobilization and communal assertion. In regions like Uttar Pradesh, where both languages were widely spoken, the competition for linguistic supremacy often turned violent. The British colonial administration's decisions regarding official languages in courts and education further fueled the conflict, as communities perceived these decisions as favoring one group over the other. The role of the press in the Hindu-Muslim divide extended beyond language issues. Hindu and Muslim newspapers and pamphlets engaged in pamphlet wars, where the polemical writings and inflammatory rhetoric was common. Hindu and Muslim newspapers and pamphlets engaged in pamphlet wars, where polemical writings and inflammatory rhetoric were common. These publications not only reported on but actively shaped communal tensions. In Punjab, for example, the press played a crucial role in escalating Hindu-Muslim animosities. Hindu nationalist publications often depicted Muslims in a negative light, while the Muslim press responded in kind, leading to a cycle of mutual recrimination and hostility. The pamphlet wars and the bigotry disseminated through the press contributed significantly to making partition seem inevitable. The press not only reflected but also intensified the existing communal divide. By the 1940s, as independence from British rule loomed, the communal tensions that had been simmering for decades boiled over. The press, with its often vitriolic and communal reporting, had helped to create an environment in which coexistence seemed increasingly impossible. Dr. Jalal thus underscores the critical role of the press in the construction of communal identities and the politicization of these identities. She illustrates how the media not only reported on, but also shaped the ideological and cultural battles between Hindus and Muslims. The press's role in promoting a Hindu-centric nationalism, the contentious language debates, and the incendiary pamphlet wars all contributed to the deepening communal divide that ultimately resulted in the partition of India. The book highlights the pivotal role of media in promoting a Hindu nationalism that marginalized Muslims, prompting leaders like Sir Syed Ahmed Khan to advocate for Muslim identity and rights. The Urdu-Hindi controversy and the incendiary pamphlet wars further deepened the communal rift, making partition an almost inevitable outcome. Through her meticulous research, Dr. Jalal offers a comprehensive understanding of the complex interplay between identity, community, and sovereignty in South Asian Islam, emphasizing the press's role in this historical process.